A farm can be contaminated by either GMO seed or pollen. Insects or wind carry GMO pollen for miles, spreading it to non-GMO crops. Their DNA is altered, giving them GMO traits like Roundup resistance. The contaminated farmer is now growing GMOs illegally, in violation of the chemical company's patent. Monsanto alone has sued hundreds of farmers for this kind of patent infringement, and they have threatened thousands of others with lawsuits, bullying them into buying their seeds and using their chemicals.
The main things they say about the reason we need them and this biotech and industrial ag is to feed the world. Can we feed the world like
I need
this?
to sit down and tell you about how angry I get when they say they're going to feed the world. You know, that's just, I don't know if GMO grains are better or worse for you, or healthy or not healthy. I don't know anybody who does know, but that's not the point to me. These people are trying to patent nature. They're trying to patent all the, nature, really. They own it.
In 1980, the Supreme Court ruled that living organisms could be patented. The race to own the building blocks of life had begun.
To think they could own nature, patent plants like that. I don't think it's moral. And it's now the accepted practice.
I'm very concerned with what we eat, and I will eat without doubt anything I produce, with no hesitation.
I'm uncomfortable with the patenting of the seeds.
Okay.
Just because it's ownership of life, and it seems strange that you could patent something that's living.
Let me give you an example.
Okay.
Can we walk down here?
Yes.
This oats' niche is for the Amish market because it yields well and cuts well with the binder. And I'm not saying that I'm for patenting seed. I'm just saying by allowing them to patent this germplasm, it gives them an opportunity to get that money coming in to help fund the research.
Right. It's become very difficult to avoid genetically modified food. And the reason I want to avoid it, or think that I want to avoid it, is because it's like the science is still out.
My fear is not from the genetically modified seed, what we're putting on that genetically modified seed and how much of that is absorbed by that plant. The seed itself, the genetic modification, will not hurt you. But if it's resistant to Roundup and we spray that plant with Roundup, does any of that Roundup get into the grain?
Yeah.
And that's what you said has not been tested and not brought forth to the public, and that's true. I'll walk down here with me. This is a giant ragweed. Giant ragweed is resistant to glyphosate in 8 or 9 states now.
So if you dump Roundup on this, it's not going to kill it?
There is resistance here, and it's becoming greater all the time. And they have identified, I don't know, 9 or 10 or 12 resistant weeds to glyphosate, but there's different chemistry you can use to control them. In this field right here, if there were no chemicals, you would see nothing but this, and there would be no crop, none, because this would take over.
Can you eat that?
No.
Dang.
Technologically, we are to the point where we're going to have to deal with genetically modified germplasm.
Are you a religious man? You don't have to be.
Yes, but I don't go to church every Sunday.
That doesn't mean anything. But I'm just wondering, from a religious perspective, if you believe in creation or God, or even believe in evolution, that now with genetic modification we've done something that has never come before. We sort of are playing God and taking, one organism over here and another one and jamming them together.
But we haven't created a new gene.
We've just modified
We've taken a gene from a plant that is resistant to glyphosate naturally and inserted it into a plant that we want to produce to feed the world.
From the very beginnings of agriculture over 10,000 years ago, humans have struggled with pests. For millennia, we grew our food organically without any chemical inputs. But around 900 AD, Chinese farmers began using arsenic sulfides. By the 1800s, lead and arsenic pesticides filled orchards. The deadly gamble of poisoning insects without poisoning ourselves had begun and was about to get much worse. After World War II, the battle with nature became an all-out war. Chemicals produced for explosives and nerve agents were reformulated as fertilizers and pesticides, then rained down on farmland around the world. In 1945, 200 million pounds of pesticides were used. By 2000, it had ballooned to 5.1 billion pounds. The result? Over 500 species of bugs are now resistant to pesticides. GMOs emerged in the 90s as the industry's most advanced weapon against nature. Plants engineered to produce pesticides and withstand deadly weed killers. But as weeds and bugs quickly adapted, the cure became a curse. Roundup-ready crops gave rise to Roundup-resistant weeds, and they are ravaging fields across the country. Horseweed, ripgut brome, annual bluegrass, hairy fleabane, goosegrass, and the monstrous pigweed can bathe in weed killer and still grow up to 3 inches in a single day. Bugs, like weeds, have adapted more quickly than we ever thought possible, overcoming our deadliest chemical concoctions. Superbugs like the western corn rootworm had found a chink in the frail GMO armor. The ravenous cotton bollworm feeds on the Bt toxin engineered to destroy it. And now it's stronger than ever and has an insatiable appetite.